Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Crimson Court. The spotting right here in the top right hand corner, playing with the red Protoss pieces, we have none other than hero. And his opponent down in the bottom left, playing with the blue Zerg drones, he goes by the name of Reynor. Two absolute favorites going up against each other. This particular series was played during the Esports World Cup, the StarCraft 2 World Championships. I believe this was in the lower bracket, if I'm not mistaken. Meaning that both players going into this particular match, they've already lost a series, but they're in the second phase of the tournament. So this time around, the EWC used a triple elimination system, meaning that you could lose a bunch of games before actually getting eliminated out of the tournament. Which I think is actually a pretty good system. Overall, we've had many different flavors of StarCraft 2 tournament formats over the years, and there's a lot to be said about those. I'm always a fan of just straight up single elimination, because I think as a viewer, as a caster, it's the easiest to watch, where you have the different players going up against each other, and then ultimately, well, you don't get a second life, you ultimately crown a victor. But obviously as a competitor, that is a pretty rough system, because if you have one bad series, which can very easily happen, obviously, well, you would just straight up be out of the tournament if everything was single elimination. Generally speaking, the smaller tournaments are single elimination, so you have like an 8-man cup. It's pretty much always going to be single, so it's pretty much always going to be single elim. We've had like round robin groups, double elimination, triple elimination, lower brackets, upper brackets, the whole shebang. There have been a lot of varieties and different flavors of events, but when it comes to crowning the very best player in the world, I guess it makes sense to give players a couple of additional lives. Anyways, it's going to be a hatchery first right over here on the low ground into a gas geyser for Reynor. And then, of course, a spawning pool as well. That's going to allow him to produce a couple of those queens. Will we be seeing any Zerglings? We'll probably see some here in just a moment. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, it's been a pylon into a gateway. And then, of course, we have a Nexus together with a Cybercore as well on the low ground. Gas is taken in the main base. And the tech of choice right here from hero for now is going to be the Stargate. Now, we've seen hero do a ton of different varieties lately when it comes to the Stargate opener. He's been going for quick Tempest builds. He's been doing even like some 2-base carrier shenanigans, which is not very good. But overall, he's been mixing it up quite a bit. I am fully expecting that it's just going to be the standard oracles. Usually 2 to 3 oracles is the norm, in combination with a little bit of adept play, but this is of course hero we're talking about, so there is a chance he's going to be going for something with a little bit more flavor. Should be an oracle though, at least for now. Could be a Void Ray. No, it's going to be an oracle straight up. Reynor in the meantime has decided to take the forward base, the one with the rich Vespian Geyser. This is, of course, a base that allows him some very quick units across the map if he wants to. Ravager all-ins, for example, hit extra hard. If you go for like a queen drop, you can execute a lot of those strategies a little bit easier, because it requires a whole lot less drones on that gas geyser to get, well, a significant amount of income. Oracle number 2, started up. Gonna get the creep tumor with this shade. You should be able to get that. Nicely done. There are indeed some Zerglings available, but they don't have metabolic boost yet. Hero knows the timing. He decides to send the adepts back home. And apparently it's been swapped out by an oracle. So far though, great defense here from Reynor. Yeah, I mean, he can get the kill on that, sure. He's gotta target the larva down, but you know life is a little bit complex when the larva are your main target. In the meantime, inside of the main base, it looks like those adepts, despite going home, they decided to go straight in the direction of the third. And that means that there's now a little bit of chaos because there was nobody guarding the wall. 4 probes going down is actually quite significant. 4 probes for 7 Zerglings. I mean, it's not the end-all be-all right here. It's not an absolute disaster for hero, but you do want to certainly avoid those sorts of plays. The nice thing, I guess, here for hero is that Reynor will be forced to remake some links just for base defense. Obviously, that aggression there was not entirely for free, but it has taken the wind out of the sails of the Protoss player a little bit, right? The oracles had to go back home, and in general, the entire aggression has been reset. Gonna be a Twilight Council together with a Forge on the back of this as well. They're gonna get 1 or 2 drones, I think. Yeah, oh, he cancels. He wants to get more. This is actually a really good harassment right now, though. As long as he keeps all of those oracles around, which he does. 7 workers going down right here for just a few adepts is a really, really good exchange. Okay, it'll be Blink together with +1. Reynor is going to be left by himself here for a little while. There's no more adepts out on the map, and other than those oracles, he has full control, at least as far as the ground goes. Oracles are going to be forced back home, which is the main purpose here for these links. But, I mean, if you can get a couple of pylons and a few probes as well, life is really not that bad. In the meantime, there's an Overlord going in as well. Reynor's been making a bunch of drones in the meantime, so he's got a good economy once again. Pretty much fully saturating the bases right now. He needs a couple more workers for that, but overall this is looking pretty nice. He's trying to get a bit of vision. He will see the timing of the Forge, despite the fact that he does not see the Twilight Council. He should be able to put 1 and 1 together. Keep in mind that this is a map where Zerg can very easily march queens as well. So this is one of those situations where if you push the creep a little bit further forward, yeah, the queens are already getting a little bit adventurous. The distance to cover is relatively short. There were 3 queens waiting as well inside of the main base, hoping that maybe they could intercept the oracles as they would swoop in here from the right. Overall though, this is a relatively normal start right here from both players. The transition right now from hero is going to be into a Templar Archives. I'm curious to see if he's going to be very aggressive here. We're only at 4 gateways at the moment, but he's adding on 2 more. He doesn't really need a prism here to really quickly like reinforce this. He can just warp in at home and get some work done over here. But it looks like he is willing to just, yeah, play the straight up macro game. He's going to go into what seems to be a 4th Nexus at the 12 o'clock position. He'll probably be going into a couple of Archons here, or maybe even Storm in just a moment. I don't think either would be a bad choice. He's going to go into charge, +2. And this is that new style that hero has been going for. I mean, it looks a lot like the old style. It's just got a little bit of a different feel, because he is effectively playing straight up StarCraft 2 against Zerg. For the longest time, in this particular matchup at the very least, Protoss always felt compelled to get some sort of damage done early on, and they had to do some sort of follow-up timing attack. But that's not really what hero has been doing as of late. He's controlling the creep, but he's expanding. He's trying to stay on an even footing here with the Zerg, which historically, at least over the last couple of years, has never really been that great of a play. That being said though, Zerg obviously has seen quite a few nerfs over the years. Lurkers are going to be the weapon of choice right here for Reynor, who will be going into that hive. In the past, for example, it seemed like you could only ever really fight a lurker-based army by going into Skytos. Now, it looks like we will still see that transition, but Protoss has a couple different options available nowadays as well. For example, to go into MASS Immortal Archon, you can, yeah, certainly deal with the lurkers relatively nicely. Yeah, he's just sniping creep tumors. It's kind of cool. But anyways, this is going to be a Skytos transition though. Stargates are coming, 2nd Stargate that is, +1 is started up as well. This is something that Reynor will be noting right now. You will see that the Cybercore is spinning, and that's going to give him all the info he really needs. So even though sometimes these Overlord and Overseer scouts look like they don't achieve much, they certainly do still get quite a bit of intel. Lovely Stasis Ward here as well. Slowing all of this down. There is a Roach Link Squad over here on the left side of the map, but I mean, Storm is done. There's photon cannons being set up. Reynor may have a superior amount of supply at this point in time, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff to attack with. He's gonna go into Lurkers. Fair enough. Tempest are coming. Hero wants to get those Tempests done before the Lurkers arrive. These are, of course, Lurkers without a ranged. So these timings are all relatively delicate, but looking at the progression bars over here, right? I believe that the Tempest will be done in time. There is a bit of anti-air, so the Queens obviously have quite a bit of range. The Hydra's decent as well. But technically speaking, with some revelations here, the Tempest should be able to shoot all of these units down. Getting the Cybercore killed, though, is a big win here as well for Reynor, who's gonna try and see if he can break the natural expansion. There's a lot of Storms available, mostly just meant to try and slow this down. Where are those Tempests? There they are. I think they should be targeting the Queens, maybe the Lurkers. Couple of Templar, a little bit overly aggressive positioned, but I think this is all good. This is very holdable right now for hero. In the meantime, we have some roaches going around the site. No micro on these units over here. We've seen quite a few of the High Templar going down so far. You can tell here that APM-wise, at the very least, Reynor is playing a much faster game. I think that's probably the reason why we're seeing hero slip up with a couple of those units. But ultimately, he's got the right tools for the job, right? Like, these Tempests are essentially untouchable. And unless the Lurkers can maximize their damage, I don't think this is something that hero is really going to die to. And once all of this is killed, it's going to be hero in the driver's seat. At that point, yeah, this is where Protoss is going to be able to push all of this back. This is going to be the moment in the game where hero will be able to take full control. Now, he doesn't know about the timing of the Spire. Spire is about halfway done at this point. Reynor's got a decent economy, but nothing to write home about. I don't really love that attack. I think as soon as he saw that it was Tempest play, it would have been a little bit better for Reynor to think of another strat. He was probably hoping that he was going to be able to get across the map before the Tempest would actually hit the battlefield, but the timing right there on the Storm, really, really good. And then the timing on the Skytles transition was also on point. Now, it's going to be 2 Cyber Cores because, well, he wants to get both upgrades, and since those Skytles upgrades are nowhere to be seen right now since the Cyber Core went down, hero is going to try and double up as far as that goes. Honestly, killing the Cyber Core there may be the biggest win in that entire attack for Reynor. Because he knows that his opponent is not just going to hit him in the face with like +2 carriers. Carrier with attacking upgrades in particular are massive. And maybe that's actually what Reynor was thinking. Maybe he was making the assumption that this was going to be a straight transition towards carriers rather than Tempest. I do agree that if this would have been a carrier play instead, that attack from Reynor would have hit extremely hard. Now, there is a Nidus Worm attempt. Lurkers are inside of the worm as well. Hero currently supply blocked actually, so he can't warp in more units, but a recall will complete in time. And that's gonna give him the heads up as well that this is a weapon of choice right now for the Zerg, so not too surprised here to see a whole load of photon cannons added into the mix. Little Hydra hit squad on the left side of the map. They're gonna be able to deny that base easy peasy. Lurkers are still sitting inside of the worm, but now we have to play a macro game. Now we have to play a long game, and that does not really seem to be what Reynor wants to do here so far. He's gonna have to make that transition, because I don't think he's gonna be able to attack anymore and really catch his opponent off guard with a sudden push with a bunch of Lurkers. At this point, the Skytles army is growing. The upgrades are coming in. He's even gonna be going for the Tempest research. We have Flux of Veins queued up. That is the Void Ray speed upgrade. Interesting. Mothership just started up too. Hero is prepared for everything. And I'm liking this style from Protoss quite a bit, right? I feel like for years now, Protoss has always been in that camp where they kind of have to be the aggressor. They're expected to deal damage because otherwise the game is not really that great for them. But it seems like Hero has invented a playstyle for, well, Protoss to play. Really? Okay. He's making supply. He's making room. We wanted more Templar, apparently. Anyways, he's found a way to play macro instead. Second Spire coming up for the Zerg player right now. He's gone into the Adrenal Glands upgrade. We're gonna finally start up some real upgrades too in those Evolution Chambers, but those are all very late. He did go into the +2 missile first, but upgrades-wise, I'm liking this a little bit better for Hero. Eco-wise, everything's good as well here for Hero. Now we have some High Templar throwing water balloons. Yeah, they're gonna... This is an awkward problem here actually for Hero. Okay, he does have some Tempest. You can't warp in units when you're maxed out. It's a luxury issue over here. Hero couldn't grab any units here to... Luckily for him, he had some Tempest nearby, I suppose. But he does not have an easy way to shut it down if Reynor finds a location where he can indeed plant the worm. Now, the mineral fields over here are still fully walled in, so I don't think he's going to be able to achieve much, but this can also be used as a scouting Nidus for now. There's indeed Flux Veins. So the idea behind the Void Ray transition is that he knows that there's gonna likely be mass Corruptor production at this point in time. The Hydras will probably be replaced with a more reliable anti-air unit. Yep, and now he gets confirmation of that too. And usually, well, Corruptors are quite vulnerable to a Void Ray switch. It's a dangerous play to make though, because parasitic bombs, fungal growths, all of it is very good against those voids, but He apparently has the money and he wanted to get the research. Okay, let's see. This is a scary army. I gotta say, this is a really scary army. There's not that many Corruptors in the mix. We see some feedbacks as well. Tempests are relatively tanky. There's only 11 Corruptors. I wonder if there's actually too many lurkers here. There's barely any ground, so those lurkers are keeping the High Templar at bay. They're gonna make it difficult for the Archons to step onto the creep. But he's gonna need more anti-air, Reynor that is, to really shut this down. Those Tempests dealing maximum damage from a distance. They could shoot away very far, and that's why those Oracles are so good here. This is a delicate Protoss unit composition, but if microed correctly, it can deal with pretty much anything. Now, again, those abductions are a little sloppy, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I do think there should be more of a High Templar focus on feedback there. But these fights are still not bad. So, interestingly enough, hero is not doing any Zealot run-bys. Normally, whenever we see this sort of style, it's a focus with... yeah, a lot of Zealot run-bys too. I mean, this reminds me a lot of ladder games. This is the type of game that I have lost to about a gajillion times historically. The ultimate late game Protoss army is really hard to beat for Zerg, unless Zerg has their ultimate composition ready to go. Now, luckily for us, Reynor is one of the very best micro players in the world. He can certainly pull that sort of play off, and again, we see a lot of High Templar going down. Another abduction. I feel like there's more potential here in this Protoss army. I do feel like there's a little bit more micro ability. Especially since there's no Zealot run-bys to control. I think there could be a little bit more juice squeezed out of this Protoss army, but it doesn't matter. Hero is still gonna be able to force the Zerg to retreat. An Ultra Cavern is coming up, so the Ultra Cavern, I guess, is to try and get a transition going against, well, for example, the Templar and then also those Archons, but that is still miles away. They're not gonna be useful until at least +2 melee or +2 armor here is done, and that's still quite a while away too. Hero is smelling blood in the water right now. He's found an angle. The SimCity here from the Zerg is actually just working against him now because he's having a hard time getting his own army into a position. Cloaking field activated on the mothership as well. She's being protected quite nicely. Vipers are completely without energy. And while we do see some Tempests going down, 7 of them in total, this Protoss army is just bulldozing its way on the left side of the map. There's a fungal growth, I suppose. We have a Nexus now built as well in the top left-hand corner, so it's not like Hero is all in by any stretch of the imagination. He's got a ton of income, he's got a really good economy. And this reminds me of classic Protoss Skytals games. We started off with a normal opener, no tricks played here by Hero whatsoever, not even messing around with a, I don't know, like a Void Ray start or anything like that. He still obviously needs to be careful, though, that he doesn't just get more and more units abducted, because I feel like every time these Vipers get energy, we see at least 2 Tempests going down. Okay. Is there enough for Zerg to hold this? He's got a lot of money, but not a ton of gas. 7 Ultralisks are coming up, so the idea is that the Ultras can just chomp their way through all of those Archons, but so far, the damage here is insane. Without chitinous plating, which is that armor upgrade for those Ultras, this army is not going to be very good for the Zerg. This is on a razor's edge right now, though. Both of those structures are over here. I wouldn't mind seeing a Hero going after those structures instead, but he doesn't really know. Instead, what he's looking at is a whole bunch of balloons. Apparently, it must have been Reynor's birthday recently. So we do have an abduction over here. Archons love popping balloons, dude. They have like a little needle. They just popped them all, but ultimately, this massive army here from the Protoss cannot be stopped, and he made it look easy in game number 1. Game number 2, we find ourselves on Golden Aura. Hero, of course, at this very same tournament, also played that amazing series against Serral. That's why I was talking about, well, the variety of builds he's been showing lately. Because he was doing a lot of Void Ray shenanigans and a lot of quick Tempest rushes and all the rest of it. But honestly, that previous game, completely stock standard. Like, that was as normal a game as possible. No shenanigans with like a big Stalker blink attack. No shenanigans with, I don't know, for example, Zealot run-bys. That looked to me like we used to play StarCraft 2 back in like 2017 or whatever. That's the style we used to see for Protoss right after Legacy of the Void was introduced. It's interesting. hero definitely is known for his aggressive builds. He's very good at microing units. We've seen him do a lot of games, I guess, where he throws away his army and then he doesn't really achieve that much. So I guess he's also sort of known for that, but that previous game was very careful, very cautious. I don't mind it at all. Finally gets one drone over here. He already forced a couple of structures. In the meantime, ooh, big mistake here from Reynor. That Overlord is supposed to be on hold position in the middle of that pylon, or whatever this is. That actually is gonna cost him, because he now hit a supply block that is never supposed to happen. And that actually really does slow down the Zerg's early game quite a bit. The Zerg early game is quite delicate. You make just the right amount of Zerglings, so you can squeeze out just an extra queen here. It does certainly make the game a little bit more difficult here for the Zerg player. Losing that Overlord, making a mistake like that. He was busy microing against the Adept. Well, I can tell you, he would have much rather lost an extra drone and not lose the Overlord than lose the Overlord. Anyways, it's gonna be a Stargate opener once again here for hero. He'll go into a good old Oracle. 3 of them in total. Nothing all too surprising. No shenanigans here with a Tempest transition. No quick fleet beacon. No second Stargate. You know, one of the strategies that I kind of miss in Protoss vs Zerg? I kind of miss the Mass Phoenix styles. I thought they were so cool for so long. I think they'll probably come back at some point. I don't think we should ever really expect a Phoenix buff, because they are amongst some of the best units in the game. And that would probably break Protoss vs Terran, because they're very commonly played in that matchup. But I wouldn't mind it personally. I always really liked the Phoenix openers. It's very popular right below the pro level. At the professional level, we rarely see it, but in any game below that, if you're going up against good players, they do really make the Phoenix look like an amazing unit. But most players out there do favor, of course, the Oracles. Main problem with the Phoenixes is that, well, they can't kill structures, and they can't just shoot lasers on the ground very easily. Oracle provides a ton of mid-game utility as well, right? And that's one of the things that's super nice. If you keep them around, which, you know, is a big if, but the top-level Protoss players have gotten really good at keeping all of this around, as we do have a cheeky little Zergling run by here. As we do also have an Adept Shade by in the natural. Anyways, those Oracles super good as well in the mid-game. No targeting on the drones just yet. Honestly, this crisis management here from Reynor has been incredibly good. Now we do have the Oracles joining in with the Adept in the main base. Both players take a little bit of damage. But I think overall this is relatively even. And usually I'm inclined to say that whenever the game is even, it's good for the Zerg. Because Zerg can power out so many drones so quickly. And usually Protoss will feel compelled to try and do some sort of aggression here. Don't know if that's going to be the case. So it's once again basically a 1-to-1 copy to what we saw in the previous game. So it's once again Blink. It's once again the +1 ground. Or the +1 out of the fort. The +1 attack. Zerglings are being zapped away. Nice control here by hero. Again, no robo facility. So that's curious to me. No robo anywhere. That once again makes me believe that hero is not going to be too aggressive. He's gonna send a couple of units around. If he can get the council on this base, that would be amazing. But for the most part, I think he's just dancing. He doesn't have an easy way to reinforce this, although obviously he can warp in at home. I'm assuming it's once again... Are we gonna go up to 6 gateways? We're not. We're just on 4 gateways still. Yeah. Still on 4 gateways into +2 together with charge. There's once more the Templar Archives. I believe at this point in the previous game he was already at 6 gateways, although I'd have to look back. But he's using this little choke point here, this ramp, yeah, to allow his Stalkers to deal maximum damage. Lovely micro here from Protoss. Grabbing a lot of free kills. Yeah, he's prioritizing another base. Now finally a robo facility is coming up. Curious to see if we're gonna once more see him go into Blink. Or sorry, not into Blink, into Storm. And then into a fleet beacon. To once more start up that transition. Now, in the previous game, it was a very different build order from Reynor though. So Reynor decided to, once more, this is a hero moment and a half. Doing so much damage on the other side of the map. So focused that a bunch of Zerglings just run in because there's nothing in the wall off. That's such a hero moment. Anyways, this is not a Hydra transition. There's no Hive. There's no lurkers on the horizon here. This is Reynor ready to slam the hammer, right? He is likely going to go for an all-out attack here in just a moment because his army is massive. He's effectively just got 3 base saturation, a whole lot of queens, a whole lot of Roach Ravager, and that's it. Getting a Oracle kill here is quite nice. Okay, well, honestly, any stasis ward, any slowdown of this attack is also very, very good for hero. All he really needs right now is time. Aggressive blink forward onto the queens. Ay, ay, ay. He wants to get the hatchery. He's gonna get the hatchery. Well, that is going to completely push Reynor all in. I don't think Reynor can actually play a macro game behind this. Now, in the meantime, the big squad of roaches did go across the map. That's gonna prompt a full recall on all of that Protoss army. Zerg's still close to maxing out, and that's exactly what he's trying to make use of right now. This is a very cheap unit to produce. And because of that, he can mass it. But there is no real transition out of this. So if there is no transition out of this, he has to pretty much win the game, or at least deal critical amounts of damage with this attack. He could go Swarm Host, I guess. He does have a couple different options. And you know what? The supply here is looking quite good for Reynor. Robo Facility goes down, but just a trade of armies here, and Protoss honestly holding with minimal economical damage is really good for Protoss. Not bad whatsoever. Couple roaches here go around the site. They're targeting whatever probe they can, but hero already has probes to spare. How the tides change, huh? Normally it's the Protoss player who's forced to be aggressive and to get some sort of damage done. Now suddenly we have Reynor going in for a push like that because he thought that this would avoid that late game style, but hero never really even bothered. He's gone up to 8 gateways now. He's gonna go into another robo. +3 starts up for the ground units. If the Overseer has any say in the matter, it's never going to finish up. But at this point, I mean, in a very strange way, it's hero swarming the Zerg. Because his economy is just much bigger. He's got 81 workers. Once they all find a little place to mine, which I think they're getting to right now, he's got to have the superior unit composition. He's going to have the superior income. I mean, just this. Please, hero, stop. He's all army hotkeying so hard that he keeps pulling units away from the wall in. That is such a hero moment, man. This guy does some of the most creative and beautiful strategies out there. Does incredible micro on the other side of the map, but then just leaves the front door wide open. He's been doing this for years. Hero actually uses a very strange method of hotkeying his army. So rather than what most players do, he basically always has just about 2 control groups with whatever units he used most recently. And he's continuously changing them throughout the game. So, because of that, he doesn't have like a default hotkey for example, a unit in the wall off, or the Stalkers are not necessarily on hotkey 1, you know, which is where most people would be putting them. They're on whatever hotkey he deems to be most useful at this point in time. And usually it works really well. Sometimes, though, it makes him look a little clumsy. And he also definitely uses the all-army hotkey a little bit too much. But storms, can we get some storms? The weather forecast is, well, it's not looking good for Reynor. Maybe he can hold here. He did go double Lurker then, so he's trying to go into that Lurker transition. If he can afford both upgrades, life's gonna be pretty good. But in the meantime, on the other side, before any real air units hit the battlefield, +1 is already finishing for, well, the Skytle's army. Another big storm. Oracles, by the way, don't benefit from air upgrades. So, I mean, killing the hatchery here is super nice. This is all so good for hero. He took the gold base in the meantime. So, similar situation as in the previous game, except even more in favor of hero. He's once more building Tempest into somebody who's going seismic spines for the lurkers. Except this time around his economy is vastly better than that of the Zerg. This is not really a situation where Reynor can even really afford a Viper. Right? He's struggling to get the second upgrade here for the lurkers, I'm sure. He made a second, what was that? Sorry, what just killed a whole lot of drones? Was it a... Ah, I think I found the culprit. I backed up about 20 seconds. Yeah, Prism is gonna go in. So just to rub a little bit more salt in the wound, even though he's playing 5 base Protoss against 3 base Zerg, we're gonna do some storm drops as well. Luckily for Reynor, he's really fast, and he's able to push those units away, but that is still a bit of a disaster here for the Zerg. I don't really see a way out of this, to be honest. Now, hero, stop it! Do just anything, man. Like, maybe build a pylon over here so you see it coming in, so you can actually put something in the wall before it... We have a Zealot run by as well on the right side of the map. It's gonna shut down. I don't think these aggressive pushes from the Zerg are gonna change the tide, but it's so funny to see him make like the highest level decisions out there, and then in the meantime, all army hotkey, like I don't know, like a Gold League Protoss player, you know? Like it's a little sloppy. It's fine. It's not a huge deal. He cleans it up well, but he had to come all the way back home. It's not the best play, but ultimately Reynor now sees the gold base. He sees that it's fully mined, and he decides to tap out because there is no way back for him. Ghost River is going to be the 3rd game in this best of 5 series, and already it is match point right here for hero. And again, I just want to reiterate this, not doing any tricks, no shenanigans, no cheeky build orders. I mean, now he's got a couple shots if he wants to. If he wants to do something weird, Ghost River is a map with a very quick rush distance, so you can get there very easily if you want to. But he doesn't really seem to need to, right? Like, that's the big difference here. Now, there's only 1/3 base option on this map for the Zerg. And that means that, yeah, it's quite difficult here for Reynor to get this expansion going. It looks like there was a pylon block, and this is just hero trying to be a massive jerk. That's what Protoss players like to do, okay? They just try and be mean. Yeah, if you enjoy being a bully, and you haven't quite decided yet what sort of race you want to play in StarCraft 2, highly recommend Protoss. There's a lot of bullying going on, a lot of structure blocking, sometimes building structures inside of your opponent's base. Now, there's a little bit of bullying for Terran and Protoss and Zerg alike, but I do think there's a bit more of it for Protoss across the board. Look at him, being so mean to those workers. All those workers are trying to do is harvest some resources, and he gets 2 of them. 3? Oh, he gets a 3rd. Oh, the Zergling was body blocking that drone. Reynor probably tried making a Spore Crawler there, but he couldn't. This is actually not a bad start here for hero whatsoever. Now, normal timing for the 3rd is going to be right about 5 to 10 seconds from now. He pylon blocked his opponent, and obviously he threw away those adepts. So he's likely not going to be able to pull that off. We're going to have to see something a little different. And we do see something a little different. A 3rd gateway already going up. 2 gateways is not crazy. 1 gateway sometimes even happens. 3 gateways. That's more than 2. It's even more than 1. Oh, transfusional drones. Alright. Alright, alright. Yeah, so that's the downside when you donate away those adepts, right, in favor of a couple of worker kills. It's difficult now to take the 3rd base. Oracle is going to be used for base defense, which is not usually where you want it. Probe is going to be sent over in that direction. Now, by the way, if you are enjoying this so far, do make sure you hit the like button down below. It really does help. So we have another beautiful game in the making here. It's going to be a 3rd Oracle joining in. And I'm assuming we'll see, yep, a Twilight Council and a Forge, just like in the previous games. I'm assuming it'll be Blink, together with the +1 ground. And it'll be up to Reynor here to try and yeah, put a stop to it. And so far, he just hasn't really been able to get the ball going. I guess on Crimson Court, the first game in the series, he was looking pretty good. He could have done whatever he liked, right? It wasn't like he was being held back by the amount of resources that he had. He could have done whatever, but he just never really got there. He was prepared against Zealot run-bys and all the rest of it, but hero just didn't do any of it. He just went into a bunch of Blink Stalkers and then into Storm together with Shards and then into Skytles. A super old school way of playing, but it worked like a charm. Hey, we have a sentry. Have we seen any sentries this entire series? I don't remember seeing any of them. No. That's okay. You guys are still cute. Now, what can Reynor do on a map like this that wouldn't be viable on other maps? Nothing really. So the map has a very quick rush distance, so you can get across really early on. But Stargate openers are really good at stopping, like, for example, early game all-ins. You can imagine if Zerg decided to do a Roach Ravager all-in or whatever, like, you could shut that down easy peasy. Push comes to shove, you could even make a Void Ray, I guess. So that's not really a viable option. Usually it's more of like a Queen attack. So a Queen drop, for example, or just a Queen march to watch the other side. I think those are all viable choices, but they're also really well figured out because Zerg players have been doing them for years. And players like hero have defended those styles for a very long time. Plus, obviously the Queens did get nerfed quite a bit as well. It makes it difficult for Zerg to really execute those threats. So yeah, what we see right here from Reynor is very likely his best choice. You do have Knight as all-ins as well. You can go for aggression. But honestly, if Protoss is playing well, they don't really work. They work really well when Protoss is making sloppy mistakes. But I think in theory, if this was an Excel spreadsheet, those all-ins should rarely obtain the victory. So what Reynor is doing here, he's playing it very safe. This could be, I don't think it's going to be, but this could be Swarm Host play. I don't think so. It would be a crazy curveball to throw right now, and he's already got a really good economy, so I don't think he needs that at all. I think we'll probably see a Hydra then into a Hive, and then once more into Lurkers. Now, we have a transition from hero that we haven't seen yet. So this is not a Templar Archives. Instead, what we've got is a second Robo facility together with a Robo Bay. So we may be going bowling. Yeah, if you're a fan of bowling, we may be making some disruptors here. Now, normally, at least historically, this is a style that's considered very weak against Lurkers. But Protoss players have figured out that, wait a second, if I just make enough, if I just get enough Immortals, enough Archons, maybe some Disruptors in there too, if I make a bunch of Robo stuff, usually Lurkers are actually counterable. That would force Zerg to, in addition to Lurkers, also go into Brute Lords, so it changes the entire dynamic of the matchup. But you don't really have to go and play... Oh, we're gonna go for the Colossi first. Fair enough. It is Hydras, so not a terrible choice. I don't think we're gonna see a ton of Colossi, but... Maybe. Maybe up to 4. There's the Hive coming. Reynor is gonna be extending his thermal lens. Or hero, rather. Reynor is gonna try and deal with it. Vipers are obviously a really good choice. So that is actually a style that Reynor could go for, and he sees the Robo Bay right now. So if he sees all of this, right, he could just go, okay, he could just go into ultimately Hydra Lurker Viper, and that does shut it all down relatively well. So the nice thing about Vipers is that you can abduct those very expensive Robo units. They take a long time to produce, they're very pricey. Hero going for a deep scout through the main base of the Zerg, and he knows exactly what he's playing against right now. And we are gonna go bowling. Okay. Now he's gonna test the waters for a little bit. +2 ground weapons is finishing up. As long as he's on the edge of the creep, he should be fine. This is once again, though, one of those characteristic Reynor moves. Finally, it looks like he's gonna be able to get something done. If he commits to killing the Nexus, he can get it done. The Protoss army, though, rather than fighting still on the other side of the map, they're gonna try and come home. I think Reynor can kill it, but it's gonna be costly. I think this entire army is not gonna go home. Home is behind the... Okay, the roaches are dead. No, they're, you know, dead roaches can't sing. Yeah, fact of the matter. And that actually makes this attack now kind of scary. hero is saying, yup, okay. I'm not even gonna rebuild it. Instead, we're going all in. Is that what we're doing? No way. I think we're still gonna build another Nexus there in a moment. But he is certainly gonna test the waters and see if he can bowl a strike. Gets a pretty decent hit for the very first one. Lurkers are coming. We have a couple of them out already. Lurker upgrades are on the horizon. Vipers are coming too. If hero is giving this Zerg another minute, this is going to be a position that he can barely break. But right now, he may have found the golden opportunity. He decides to aggressively blink into that Zerg ball. Okay. There's still a Roach counterattack on the other side of the map. Reynor once again using the bottom of the map to try and get across quickly. And I wonder if hero is overextending here. Reinforcing Stalkers should be able to clean all of this up. There's another Disruptor trying to go in. He's got 5 balls right now, man. I thought you were only allowed 2 for bowling anyways. Just to clarify before you start to think. Anyways, he is ready. So he's been reducing the lurker numbers very nicely already. Only 2 of them are out. The scariest tool here from the Zerg are those Vipers. We see 1 abduction, 2 abductions, 3 abductions. And that's exactly what we need to see here from Reynor. hero is just sending it. He is just going as hard as he can here. Yeah. Another abduction on one of the Colossi this time around. This seems to be a little unnecessary, unnecessarily aggressive. I don't think he needs to be here. But he is feeling like we need to do a little bit of the hero of old. Conservative in game number 1 and 2. And apparently we're doing some hyper-aggression here in game number 3 instead. Then again, hero is 2-0 ahead in the series. So he's got a little bit of room to play. Oh my god, Reynor really needs like 30 seconds just to breathe for a little bit, morph in some more lurkers. Good abduction there, but obviously the Colossi are not that important at this stage. The Zealots are chasing this down. A couple of them get clipped as well inside of that Purification Nova. Vipers are mostly without energy. I think there's enough for 1 abduction. My god. Is hero actually doing this? He does hit a lot of roaches there. He also, I believe, hit his own... Oh my god, he almost just killed his own army. That was very risky. Anyways, he also hit his own Colossus right there with the Purification Nova from earlier. Hero's starting to dance again. Killed 4 drones. This is a frustrating game right here for Reynor. He knows he is so close to holding on. Now his Roach Warren is going to fall. That's basically the only unit he's making, and that means that the Zealot reinforcements are gonna hit extra hard. It looks to me like hero wins this series 3-0 over Reynor. Ay. Fantastically well done right here by the Protoss. Honestly, it didn't look like hero was ever gonna let this one slip away. Well done.